Morning everybody, it's great to see everybody here. It's a big turnout for the first presentation. My name's Peter Hansford. I've been in the industry since 1999 and I've been at Z-Corporation for the last 9 years. Now I'm just going to walk through a presentation that will be slightly biased towards Z-Corporation. But I want you to think about how to choose the right prototyping system. Just to give you an overview of Z-Corporation, most of you are aware of Z-Corporation and what it represents. But just to put some figures to that, we have 6,500 installations worldwide. We've been going since 1995. I'll take that off, it's easier. We're located in Boston, in the US. So if you look out there and if you look in the halls here, there's a myriad of RP systems, all doing something different, all producing different parts in different ways. And if you're already in the design process or manufacturing process, you're probably using some of these systems already, or you may be looking to use, an RP system in-house. If we look at the design process, it's all about concept development, detailed design, build and test, and then manufacture to ship. Now, if you're using an RP system, traditionally you would use that towards the end of that design process. It's all about build and test, a design verification. And I want you to think about more than that. I want you to think about the design process more, not the build and test function. We want to talk about concept development, detailed design, and not just amongst the designers. I want you to think about this amongst every department within the company and your end customer. The 3D printers that you'll find in this hall will cover now all of these areas of the design process. And some are very good at certain ends, and others, are very good at build and test. But that, they all, as I said before, all offer something different. So what's your buying criteria? Why would you choose to buy a 3D printer? Why would you want to bring that in-house? And most people look at the technology in here and they remember what they do traditionally. If you're sending parts out to a bureau, you tend to justify your purchase, certainly financially, on what you do today. And what you don't realise is that as soon as you buy an RP system and bring it in-house, your perception and the reality are totally different. Once you bring a system in-house, you realise how much more use you're going to get out of that product. So why would you want to replicate that in-house? It doesn't make any sense. Why would you replicate what you're already doing in terms of sending parts out to a bureau in-house? The only reason to do that would be a financial reason. So you can certainly justify the equipment to your financial director and you can get it in-house and it makes you cost savings, but does it really free you up to do other things within the company? And more often than not, no, it doesn't. You're very blinkered in your design process and you want to carry on in the same vein. And I want you to think about that. I want you to think about who else can be involved in the company and what else can we do. The first part of that design process is about design iteration, communication, collaboration within the company. Now, this might be collaboration with an end user, it might be collaboration with engineering from designers, it might be collaboration with the sales and marketing team. If you look at this slide, there's 25 parts on that table, and this guy's designing and sketching and printing. And the whole point of having an in-house system is allowing him some freedom to explore the design. But if you use an in-house system, you have to make sure you've made the right choice to make that machine available to that designer. And what I mean by that, and I'll explain later, is that he has to have excess and he has to have parts and he has to have multiple parts, or else that design is going to, let's say, take the least resistive path. So in other words, he's not going to explore all the avenues unless he's able to use and access that equipment. You may want to use this for sales and marketing too. So if you can produce parts that are colour or you can paint parts, you can then start to communicate design with end users or to try and win business by showing models to clients. So in other words, you need to price the job. It would be much better to price that job up and show an example of the part. And so your RP system that's in-house, you want to be able to use it in this way. If you don't use it in this way, you're not benefiting from having an in-house system. What I'm saying here is that if you've got models and you're printing models, they've got to look and feel like actual products as early as they can. And so therefore you need to look at the different systems in this hall and say, right, we know we want to use design iteration, but wouldn't it be great if they looked like an end product, or they had information on that would transmit, that we could transmit and show customers. So here you can see typical part. It's a very simple geometry. It's a square part, but if it hadn't got information on it, it would be a white brick. And so if you're talking about this internally in the design process, or you're handing this to a customer, how can you show or indicate what you've changed or modified over time through the design process? You cannot without either painting the model or spending time, doing that. You need to be able to do that very quickly in-house. The other aspect of having a system in-house is speed. It's not apparent when you, again, go back to how you use RP now. If you haven't had a system in-house, you may print, let's say, 2 parts a week, or you may send 2 parts a week to a bureau. What happens when you bring a printer in-house, and everybody that I meet says, we know what we want to do with it, and we know what we do today. And once they get a system in-house, they realise they want to use it more. They want to explore more avenues. Now, if a system's slow, it doesn't allow you to do that. Because printing a part overnight sounds great. But if there's 4 designers and they want a part overnight, that's 4 parts overnight. And some systems just won't cope with that. So here's some typical examples, and you can see this is our technology printing here. The cordless drill, a bezel, a soap bottle. Look at the time, 3 hours 46, 3 hours 19. As individual parts, that's not necessarily important. If it took 3 hours or 12 hours, you can say, right, I'll put that on overnight. But if you've got multiple parts to print, it soon adds up. And multiple designers even make that worse. So you want to look for a system that has a huge throughput, in other words, a huge build volume that you can utilise. Not just to print one large part, but to print multiple hand-sized parts. Look at this typical print queue. There's 6 parts here being printed. What would take our systems 2 days is taking a typical RP system, let's say 11 days to print the same parts. And these are actual build times. So this is not figures plucked out of the air. And 6 parts, as you can agree, is not a lot of parts. But if it's taking your designers 11 days to get those parts off, you have a problem. It's a bottleneck in the system. The other cost factor, we talked about cost early on in the process. Cost is very, very important to you. If a part costs a lot of money to produce in-house or externally, you tend not to do it. You tend to take that into consideration before you print. And what we're trying to do is to say to you, parts should not cost a lot, they should be ready and available, they should be as lifelike as possible and as low cost as possible. And that means you're going to use the equipment. There's no point in buying an in-house system if you can't access it or you can't use it because its cost is prohibitive. Again, if you look at this example of a typical model, it's not a huge model, but it's 43 cubic centimetres in volume. That typical model with our equipment would cost you about $22. You would hesitate if it cost you $150. If it's going to cost you $22, you're going to do this. And obviously, you scale that up, it becomes, it can become extremely costly to do what you want to do on an RP system if you bring it in-house. So we've gone through sort of design iteration, communication, and sales and marketing, and then we come to form and function. This is another aspect that you're already traditionally using a bureau, or you've got an RP system or you have access to, and this is traditionally where RP is used. So what I want to say to you is that most of the RP systems will fall into all of those categories. Every system in this hall will do that. But certain technologies have huge advantage over others. We have another product which is Z-Builder, which produces plastic type parts with flexural properties. And what we're trying to do is give you functional parts, so thin wall, razor sharp detail. You're looking for plastic type properties, and that's what this technology gives you. But the added advantage with this technology, again, is throughput. If you've got 6 parts to put on again, it would be handy or great if you could put them all on one build. And this technology allows you to do that, not only because you can put multiple parts into the build, but it's also very quick. So again, it's giving you access to that machine. It will flash a whole layer at a time, rather than drawing individual parts. So again, coming back to that time factor, this sort of product fits in with the ethos of z-corp. So I've just put together a presentation to ask, I was asked to do this to sort of question you and make you think about your purchasing. And it's not really about Z-corp, although I work for Z-corp, it's more about how do I choose the right system. And I think these questions are relevant. It's what is my application? And it's not just your primary applications, it says here, it's more to do with what other departments in my company can benefit from this system. What strength do I need from the parts? How stiff do they need to be? Do they need to be strength or flexibility I need? And again, if you come away from the build and test end of the design process and you look at the pure design process, you have to ask yourself, what percentage of the parts am I going to print that are really build and test? What functionality do I really need? Is it as I perceive it today, all of the parts, or is it as I would perceive it as I've got a system in-house and it's only 10% of the parts that I'm doing that need to be functional? So rather than just replicate what you do today, I want you to think about the design process, because that's where all the work is. That's where the volume is. It's quite interesting. If you look out there, we are not the biggest manufacturer of 3D printing technology. We probably have 6,500 installations worldwide, and we're probably number 3, I guess, in terms of install base. But today, more parts get printed on Z-corp machines than any other technology. And we know that through the figures of our sales and other people's sales. So more parts per annum get printed on our technology, and there's a reason for that. The real reason is because people have access to the machine, they can build parts at low cost, and they can do it, and they see a benefit from doing it in their design process. And that's not a fluke, it's not by chance, it's because people are getting real benefit from this process. So I just don't want you to think about build and test, I want you to think about design, and realise that there's a real true value in that, in getting iterations out quickly and communicating with customers. It comes back to how many models will I like to build. If you're building 1 or 2, you've missed the point. You've missed the point of having an RP system in-house. The whole point of having an RP system in-house is to be able to explore, to be able to do things that you couldn't do before. If you're just going to replicate what you do now, there's no point. The only person who's going to be happy is the accountant. Do I want the model to look like an end product? Or to have information on? Or labels? Yes, you do. There's no point in having a model if you can't communicate what you want to show. If it's just a white block, or it's a clear block, what are you communicating? Pictures speak louder than words. It's a simple statement, but if you show somebody a part and it's got information on, you can tell them what you like, but it won't sink in. If you give them a part and it shows them exactly what you're doing and why you're doing it, it's registered. People don't always see value in colour. There's a huge value in colour. Again, ask yourself that question, do I need thin walls, medium walls, thick walls? What's the typical parts that we produce? If it's thin wall parts that need to be flexible, you need to go and look for that system that gives you that. But also remember that you only need that functionality right at the end of the design process. You don't need it at the start of the design process. It doesn't need to be flexible. It doesn't need to bend. It needs to go together maybe, but that's it. You want to design and explore, not build and test. If you still want to build and test and it's only 10%, then either buy a secondary system or still send them out to a bureau. It may be more cost effective that way. And how important is it cost? Cost is absolutely important if you're going to use the system in the way I've described it. If cost is prohibitive to doing a number of iterations, you've got the wrong system. You know, if it's going to cost you $120 per part, you're going to think about it. If it's $22, you're going to go, actually, let's print 3 off, 4 off. Let's see what we can do. This is also key. Who's going to operate this system? When you send parts out to a bureau, you've got a fixed cost, you know who's operating the machine, you're in safe hands. When you buy a system in-house, which member of staff is going to look after this machine and how much work is that going to involve? How much time is he going to spend on this system? So again, look at the systems and say, which one offers me sort of a more hands-off approach that I can just leave it running, let it do its job, take the parts off at night or in the morning and carry on with my work. And also, do I need a specialist? It would be much nicer if every member of the design team had access to the machine, was happy using it and comfortable using it. And Z-Corporation's aim is to make our machines accessible and easy to use for most people. So there's no technical training needed. If you can use a Word document and print that, you can use our printer. And that's the whole point. It's got to be quick, it's got to be easy, it's got to be low cost, and it's got to be simple to use. And that's the ethos of Z-Corporation and its products. So in summary, Z-Corporation and its rapid prototyping technologies, what we're looking for is to increase innovation within a company, improve the communication between departments and customers, get your products to market as quickly as we can, but not only as quickly as we can, to make them as innovative as we can, so that you've explored every avenue before that goes out. We also want to reduce your development costs, so not only are we going to multiply the amount of parts you can print and how many iterations you can make, but also let's not boost the cost up because you've bought an in-house system. I've got so many customers who've told me, we're going to print once a week, and I go back in 6 months' time, they're printing 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and love the equipment, but they're still able to do that because the cost hasn't been, exorbitant. And most importantly is to win business. You need to go out there and win business. I haven't much more to add. What I will do is I'll leave you with a short video that sort of encapsulates the ethos of Z-Corporation, what we're about. don't know if anybody's got any questions. I'm more than happy to answer any questions here or at the stand. We're only just across there, so if anybody wants to come and find me, talk to me, more than happy to take anything. So, thank you.